Hi guys, welcome back to Sports with Mono and Mono. I'm Jim, and I'm here with Elijah, of course. And we're happy to be bringing another Friday Night Lights edition of Sports with Mono and Mono.
Cannot
Um,
wait.
yeah, so we got lots of stuff to talk about. It's November 1st already. Thanksgiving a few weeks away, and Christmas not too far behind. So
Absolutely. Wait till the Christmas goes right behind me and I get all this stuff out.
that's
It's a matter
right.
of
That's right, Eli. All right, so listen, we got a lot of stuff to talk about, and we're going to jump in and we're going to talk about the World Series. But first, I just wanted to touch on, so now that the season's over, right? So the number one topic in baseball is where is Juan Soto going to go, and how much money is he going to get, and does he take less money to stay with the Yankees and play with Aaron Judge, or does he just say, I already have a World Championship ring. I'm going to take the money, and it could be either the Dodgers or the Mets, or somebody's going to make an offer that, as they would say in The Godfather, an offer he can't refuse, so to speak, right? So, but when you look at it, there has to be some wholesale changes on the Yankees, right? They have these two young up and coming prospects. They're prized prospects in the minor leagues, and that's Jason Dominguez and Spencer Jones. So when you look at the overall field, and a lot of it's going to dictate by what Juan Soto does, and if he leaves, then there's going to be obviously another opening in the outfield. But Dominguez and Jones possibility, big kid, he could play first base. Maybe Anthony Rizzo's not coming back either. So there's going to be a lot of wholesale changes with the Yankees, and we're going to talk about the World Series that we just watched. And you're a behind the scenes guy too, Eli. It was some of the best ratings in past almost 8 years, right?
it was.
2017. Great
It was
ratings for
pretty
the
insane.
World
And
Series.
we'll get into the World Series now. And listen, going back to your comment about Juan Soto and everything, I want to start with this. Listen, if the Yankees don't re sign him and pay him the money, I think the Yankees are going to miss out because you look at this postseason run and you look at the World Series.
Mm-hmm.
Anthony Volpe was the top player for the New York Yankees.
Volpe.
Besides
Yeah,
Volpe,
Volpe.
thank you,
Yep.
thank you. Besides Juan Soto this postseason, so I think if they don't re-sign him, they're going to face trouble because you cannot rely on Aaron Judge to save the New York Yankees because he did not wake up and smell the coffee until game number 5. That's when they lost that game. It took you that
Mm-hmm.
long. Not even in. I'm not even. That includes the divisional round. That includes the conference championship before you played the World Series. So where was this Aaron Judge? Where was this? We saw more from Juan Soto. We saw more from Anthony in the previous games than we saw with Aaron Judge. I feel like if the Yankees do not re-sign him, they're going to be missing out. They're going to be in jeopardy, I feel. Where would he go if it's not the best scenario? If the Yankees do not want him, I like to see him with maybe the Mets or the Dodgers. Why the Mets or the Dodgers? The Dodgers obviously have a loaded team to begin with. Freeman, Otani, top two guys. We'll talk about more about Freeman in a little bit. And Otani,
Mookie Betts.
another great
Yep.
weapon there. And then you
Yep.
go to the Mets side. The Mets could use some people like that. And that's going to help them on top of Alonso and other guys. The question is that happens with him, too. Another guy to watch out for this offseason, Alonso and Juan Soto. These are two guys we're going to be watching out the most for this MLB offseason.
Yeah, and you're right. I mean, this would be, it would change the whole dynamic of how the Yankees rebuild this roster if Soto isn't there, because that's a major league hole to fill. But you have to plan on this because he may want to just take that money. But I think my feeling is um, that he's going to stay with the Yankees. I think he loves this New York thing, and yes, you could say it's the Mets, but it's not. It's not the New York Yankees, which is the you know,
Precious
most
name.
recognizable franchise in all of sports,
That is
and
correct.
he loves this limelight. And we're going to find out. Probably not for another 5-6 months, but we're going to have
Yeah.
to hear about it time and time again about where he's going. So, but Eli, let's jump into the World Series, and congratulations to the Los Angeles Dodgers.
Absolutely. Well
You know,
deserved.
my prediction was the Yankees were going to win in 7, and you're right. I mean, there's a lot of the blame, unfortunately, because I like the guy and I think he just got in a slump at the wrong time, is Aaron Judge. And yeah,
Absolutely.
his postseason record isn't great. It's actually awful. But he's still the franchise, key player. And they just ran into a better team. And you mentioned the names before the series that Freddie Freeman had, coming off a sprained ankle, but he just hit home runs, big hits after big hit, and Mookie Betts. What kind of a player is he? He's absolutely terrific.
Absolutely.
And they did this right without Otani having this
Right.
monster World Series. So I really give Dave Roberts a lot of credit. He really managed that team well, and he managed it with the pitchers, and you know, with Jack Flaherty pitched one great game, and then he comes out and he didn't keep him in longer than he had to because he was getting knocked around. So I think
Absolutely.
I think Dave Roberts really did a wonderful job managing that team to a World Series. Yeah.
There's a lot of factors. I'm going to go down a few things that I have written down that you just mentioned. I'm going to first start off with pitching. And I think the Yankees struggled with that. And I think game 4 was really their spark in pitching. But for the most part, they struggled. And I'll give you that. To give up so many runs and to end like that was pretty insane. For the Dodgers, good pitching, except for that game 4. I mean, 11 runs you give up is kind of sad to say that you gave up 11 runs after almost sweeping the Yankees. You did take them in 4, though, so I got to give credit to that one there. You look at the Dodgers' weapons. Freeman hit a home run practically in every game. Why didn't they walk him? I don't know. Why didn't they? I think they should have done that, especially considering how hot he was. I know, that was a topic that a lot of people brought up to me. I mentioned, why didn't they walk him? That's a great question. They should have done that. And guess what? Every time he was at bat in the first inning, he hit a home run, and this Dodgers team was unstoppable. Now to the Yankee side, Aaron Judge, as I mentioned, was off to a slump. I think with the Yankees right now, they can be a World Series champion if Aaron Judge is not on that team. That is my take. They could win a World Series if Aaron Judge is not on that team. Yes, Aaron Judge wins stuff in the regular season for them. They helped him out. But what has he done in the postseason? What has he done to say, yes, the Yankees have a shot at winning it, and that is because of Aaron Judge? I can't name one thing. And if I could have named one thing, is if they would have won and forced a game 7, won all 4 of those games, and made the game 5 his best night ever. It really wasn't at the end of the day. Although it was great in the first few innings, towards the end, it was over. And
Yeah,
also, I think, go ahead.
Yeah. No, when you think about you're right. I mean, I'm sitting here. I can't defend I can't defend it at all. And I'm a big Aaron Judge fan. I think he's great. I mean, the regular season he gets us to the World Series, and then he seems to disappear. And I don't know if it's nerves or what, but guys like Stanton, came up big and hit the ball. But I keep telling people, Giancarlo Stanton owed us that because he didn't do anything during the regular season.
Right.
But so he showed up big in the playoffs. So I can't defend Aaron Judge and his record. I mean, he strikes out 50% of the time in the World Series. So I can't defend it. Can't.
Right. And there's 2 other things I want to bring up. I'm gonna just bring up a small drawing. He had this is the baseball bat. That's the ball. Completely missed it. And some of the angles that we've been seeing lately from the Fox cameras of what Aaron Judge is drawing. This is not acceptable. What he's doing with the bat is here and the ball is out here. Unacceptable to see. And we've been seeing that a lot closely in the replays. Great job by Fox, by the way, on that. Now, another comment I want to bring up is, if they were to play the New York Mets, would the Yankees have a World Series? I believe, yes. If they were to play the World Series against the Mets, they would have won it because there would have been less travel. They could beat the Mets easily, and they know their opponent. They know it because they watch it daily on New York sports because that's just nearby.
Well, I mean,
I don't know.
Right, but both teams had to do the traveling, so I don't know if I would attribute it to that. And like I said before, before
Less
the
flights. Slow drive.
series started, I felt we had a better chance to beat the Dodgers. Than,
Yeah,
oh,
no
we have some
question.
technical issues there. We're back,
I
right?
think
We're back.
I think we're good now.
Okay.
Yeah. Um,
Um.
two
Well,
other things I want to bring up.
yeah. So
First off,
anyway, go ahead.
the Atlanta Braves are trading outfielder Jorge Soler to the Angels, and Bob Costas will be retiring from calling baseball play-by-play after 42 years. Those are two things that came up.
Well, I know there was, yeah, that was actually one of my random points I was going to bring up. So, but it's kind of funny because I told you I just went to see Bob Costa speak a few weeks ago, but he did get a lot of criticism about um, him calling the plays like he's kind of lost his edge, or he's more about the nostalgia, which actually I liked. I liked the fact that he references, points and situations and games and comparisons to players. I actually enjoyed that. Um, yeah, he's not going away. He's still going to
Right.
be on the Major League Baseball Network, but he's just not going to be calling games. That's been a remarkable career for this guy, no doubt.
Absolutely. And one more thing I want to bring up before we get off of MLB. What was this pregame performances that we had in games 2 and 3? We go from Fat Joe in New York in game 3 to Ice Cube in LA, getting the whole stadium rocking and even the Yankees players dancing. I mean, this is not the Super Bowl where it's halftime and you have 15 minutes to do it. It's about to be the World Series. And you got Yankees players dancing. No wonder why the Yankees lost. You got the guys dancing on the bench to Ice Cube and to Fat Joe. Come on, really? I'm a little annoyed about that. I mean, listen, don't
Yeah.
get me wrong. They were great. But really? I don't know.
I
That's my
don't know.
argument I want to point out. I'm sure, Jim, what do you got from us on that part?
Now, I listen. I don't watch it. I turn the game on at 8:08. I don't need to see. Just like I don't need to hear Howie Long and Terry Bradshaw and these other buffoons talk about the upcoming games on a Sunday afternoon. I turn the game on at 1 o'clock. The World Series games I turned on at 8:08. So let's leave it to our audience and loyal listeners. Send us an email at
Or leave us a comment.
sportswithmono@gmail.com and let us know your take on Fat Joe and Ice Cube and all these other guys, and
Leave us a
love to hear
comment
your
about it.
takes on Aaron Judge. Yeah,
Yeah, we'll see about that. And
good
I guess
stuff.
Jim was wanted to watch his Wheel of Fortune before the World Series. That's why.
I
That's
watched
why he wanted to
Jeopardy.
wait till 8:08. He wanted to see if they win the bonus round.
No, I watched Jeopardy. You watch Wheel of Fortune.
All right, but they did have a lot of $100,000 winners
Yeah.
this week. All right,
Okay, Eli. Let's move on. We're gonna get to the NFL in a bit, but let's start off with college football. And
absolutely.
last week was, there was some big games, and still the number one surprise to me is Indiana. They're still undefeated.
Yeah.
They got a big game this week against Michigan State, even though I think they can handle Michigan State. And then they got a big game coming up against Michigan as well. And Notre Dame, right? We were all excited about Navy and Army being undefeated, both in the top 25. And they
that
just,
was a complete failure and a
yeah,
boring
it
game.
was. They only had 2 turnovers through their first 6 games, and they turned the ball over 6 times against Notre Dame. You just can't do that.
Maybe it
and
was the
win
turf,
Notre
Jim.
Dame. Yeah, the turf.
Maybe,
Yeah, maybe.
maybe it was the turf. We'll talk about that in the NFL and just a little bit about the MetLife turf.
Right, but some of the other games, and again, Oregon is looking like the number 1 team in the country. I mean, they didn't miss a beat. They've been up there in the mix for years. They lost to Washington twice last year, but they're the number 1 team, so they're the team to knock off. And like I said, they're playing
And they
Michigan
got a
this
funny
weekend.
mascot too.
Yeah, I know. It's a duck, right?
Yeah, the Oregon Duck.
Right. Also, a couple other, probably the biggest game of the day would be Ohio State, Penn State
Penn State.
tomorrow. And this is Ryan Day is going to be on the hot seat. If he doesn't win this game and then ends up losing again to Michigan, he's going to lose his job for sure.
100%.
Yeah, so we're going to find out about that, and of course, Eli, tomorrow is the Florida Georgia game, which is known as the world's largest cocktail party. So fans are out there all day on Friday just before the game. So there's going to be a lot of loopy people in the stadium, but it's always
All
a
right.
great tradition. I think obviously Georgia is one of the top teams in the country, but it's a great rivalry.
Yeah, and other games to watch out for: Duke, Miami, 12 o'clock ABC; Ole Miss, Arkansas, 12 o'clock ESPN; and Oregon, Michigan, 3:30 CBS; and Texas A&M, South Carolina, 7:30 on ABC. Oregon, Michigan's 3:30 CBS. Those are my other games to watch out for as well. Besides Florida, Georgia, and Ohio State, Penn State, could see a lot of good competitive matchups here, and we'll see how well they can contain their leadership status in these games.
Yeah. There's actually a good game tonight because Boise State is up there, and this kid Ginty is leading the FBS in rushing. He's having an incredible season. He's kind of moved up into the Heisman Trophy discussion and so forth. So, Boise State is a team to keep an eye on. They're playing San Diego State tonight. So you hope they don't trip up because that'd be a good story when you got a guy who's, one of the top three uh, front runners for the Heisman Trophy playing. That's good football stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. College football. Let's move on to the big boys in the NFL.
Absolutely.
We'll get to yeah. Let's talk about. You and I talked a little bit earlier that from last week, the great Aaron Rodgers and the great Jets defense loses a game to New
It's laughable.
England. And almost it is, but they bounced back and they beat a Texans team last night. So,
But that was controversial, though.
you can't. Right, and we were talking earlier. It was that the catch by Garrett Wilson was an amazing catch. I
Don't get me
watched
wrong,
it
great.
closely, and I still think though I watched it over and over again, and he got the first foot down. I thought a part of his body touched out of bounds before the second foot came in, but they didn't change the call, so the call stands. And now the debate, what's the best catch in recent memory? Is it Garrett
Jaden
Wilson last
Daniels,
night, or
Jim.
was it
Jaden Daniels. Hail Mary from the 30-yard line to Noah Brown. Let's talk about that. That is a catch. That is
yes,
a catch. I know it's a Hail Mary, but that's a catch.
yeah,
That beats last
well,
night's Jets, and that beats the Odell moment. I mean, I don't know about the Odell moment, but that still beats it.
yeah. So that's the discussion. There's the Wilson versus Beckham. I love the headline in the New York Post because I
Yeah.
I always like to create my own headlines in the same vein as the Post, which I used to do on my old website, jpmsportsentertainment.com. I was kind of known for doing quirky headlines like that, and the headline was "End it like Beckham," which I thought was very clever. So
Very
that
nice.
was the
Good,
Garrett
good,
Wilson catch.
good line. Yeah.
So they win, and listen, you're right about the Washington Chicago game. It was
That was epic.
incredible ending. I do have a random point I want to bring up in regards to that play.
Yes.
And of course,
But
here
back
we
to
go
the
again.
Jets. I
Yeah,
want to go back to the
the
Jets real quick, if you don't
Giants.
mind.
Go ahead.
I just want to go back to the Jets real quick. Thank you, Jim. I want to start off with last week was a disappointment, an utter failure for the Jets, but they did come back and bounce back with a win. But I just want to say this, though. Don't trust this Jets team, though. They got lucky when they played the Texans. Really, they should have lost the game last night. We had a fumble near the end zone, which should have never happened, but instead happened. That was crazy to begin with, number one. I mean, should have been a touchdown. Drops the ball before he ends up in the end zone. I mean, wow, it's a cry moment right there. I mean, there was just a lot of silly mistakes. And even when it was called back, I know there was an interception thrown by Rodgers, but then they called it off because of flag or something. But still, I don't know. I think that was just silly mistakes we're still seeing from this Jets team, and I don't still have full faith in this team going forward. I think we're going to still see a lot of struggle, and I think it starts with the quarterback, Aaron Rodgers.
Well, I mean, listen, the AFC, yeah. So the Jets sit at 3-6, and that's they're not completely out of it. If they go on a run, they win a few games. But I'm going to tell you this right now: doesn't matter to me whether they win 10 games or sneak in with 9 wins. They're not going to beat the Baltimore Ravens, and they're not
Correct.
going to beat the Kansas City Chiefs, and they're not going to beat the Buffalo Bills. So,
Right.
all of the aspirations Jet fans had of that the savior Aaron Rodgers coming is just not going to come to fruition. So,
No.
be prepared for another year. And, now it remains to be seen when they don't, go far in the playoffs, if they happen to make the playoffs. Is Aaron Rodgers coming back, or does he bail and think that, the burden was too much to play this role of the savior and of the New York Jets? So
Right.
remains to be seen. I kind of predicted
Absolutely.
this beginning of the season, that's the expectations were way too high
Yep.
based on what I've seen the Jets in the past few years. So
I picked that to be a low record for the Jets. I also picked Commanders. So I'm liking my pick so far. Let's hope it goes through.
all right, well, we're gonna get to our who's still wearing the crown bit in a
Well,
little
we'll get
bit.
that
So
in a little bit later.
I know, but there's a
But we have
couple
other.
other things. Go ahead, Eli.
All right, I'm gonna get to some other notes real quick. We're 100 days away from Super Bowl LIX in New Orleans. We're already that time, 100 days, Jim, for that Super Bowl. Colts bench Anthony Richardson for Joe Flacco. How are we feeling about that decision? I think it's about time. But at the same time, too, is the Colts weren't bad. We're like they were losing by 50 points. They only lost these past couple of games by like 3 points, 4 points. I didn't see a big reason. I mean, yes, they were doing bad, but they
Well, I think
they weren't
there's,
like they're like hating on the guy. It's like they only lost by 3 points only.
yeah, but I think there's more to this. I mean, I don't know if Anthony Richardson certainly doesn't have the charisma or the confidence level that a Jaden Daniels did, and to some extent, Bo Nix is starting to play like an NFL quarterback. Richardson actually took himself out of the game because he was tired. Did I hear that right? He was tired.
Yeah, he was
Um,
tired,
right. So when you think
which
about
I
doing this,
question something.
but when you think about what are their options? I mean, they just don't have the confidence in this kid. A, he doesn't stay healthy, and B, takes himself out of the game. Now,
See what I thought of?
are you throwing in the towel by bringing Joe Flacco? Joe Flacco, we've seen this before. Yes, he came on with the Cleveland Browns a couple of seasons ago, had 3 great games to close the season out, and then he goes to the playoffs, and he throws 3 interceptions, cost him the game. So
Yeah,
I mean,
really.
that's the question. And your buddy Jack, I know he's listening. The 12th Horseshoe
Podcast. Yep.
podcast with you. Um, I don't know what his take is, but I'm starting to think
Oh, he ranted
they
about
don't.
it.
Yeah, I don't think they have confidence in him. That's a big change.
Yeah.
Joe Flacco is not going to get the Indianapolis Colts to the Super Bowl. That much I can.
Well, we knew that, but here, another thought I thought of was, what if they did a swap of Carolina, send Bryce Young to Indianapolis and Anthony Richardson to the Carolina Panthers? Could this work out for both those quarterbacks? You ever thought about that? Maybe Bryce Young gets a better opportunity. Anthony Richardson realizes something. I don't know.
I know, Eli, but when you think about it, right, for the past few years, there's always been like a really crowded quarterback class, right? That gets drafted in the top 10 picks. And we all know all of them aren't going to work out. Some are going to be bust.
Seems like the second round pick works out.
Right. But I'm thinking Richardson is a bust. Um, and I think Bryce Young, I mean, it's hard for me to watch because I admired the kid at Alabama. He was a Heisman Trophy winner, and they lost confidence in him. So, when you get a group of quarterbacks, some are going to be like Caleb Williams, who's starting to mature before our eyes, and you know, Bo Nix is starting to play well, and Jaden Daniels, of course, leading the pack. So you just never know. Now for the New York Giants, right? And I had unfortunately had to give our monologue about 5 weeks ago that enough is enough. I mean, enough is enough. I've seen enough. I can't take it anymore. We're not going anywhere with Daniel Jones. I like Brian Dable as a coach, but the execution is not happening. And because I used to wear my number 8 Daniel Jones jersey every Sunday, and I had to switch back to my Eli Manning jersey because I can't support a guy that's just his record on like primetime games is 1-15.
Not just that, he
I
hasn't
mean,
thrown a
what are we
touchdown in
doing
MetLife
here?
Stadium. What's going to happen this week when they take on Jaden Daniels and the
I know.
Commanders? Not just that, look at this. Their kicker, Greg Joseph, is out this weekend. Their kicker
I know.
for the Giants, Greg Joseph, out this weekend. Adam Schefter confirms today. Their practice kicker, Jude McAdamy, will now be the kicker this weekend. Yeah.
Yeah, he's like an Australian rules football guy or something, right? I don't know,
Yeah.
something like that.
But
I don't know.
still, that's my point, though. You now have a new kicker in store. You have a quarterback who can't get a touchdown. And yeah. And now we have a comment from Frankie. He says, good evening. Thank you for tuning in. And don't forget to keep on
I
commenting.
know, Frankie. Listen, I'm all on board. I know where Frankie's going. He's had it too with Joe Shane, and he's had it with Daniel Jones, and I don't blame him. I stuck with Jones maybe way longer than I should have, but I'm willing to eat this one, Frankie, because I've seen enough, and I don't think he's certainly not going to be on this team next year. But what's the plan? I mean, if right now, do you just sit him down and go with Drew Lock? I mean, are you going to win more games with Drew Lock than you are with Daniel Jones? Probably not. Um, and I don't want, please, somebody don't tell me we could win just as many games with Tommy Cutlets as the quarterback, because that's just not
No.
true.
I mean, you can't. I mean, it's impossible. Really. You really can't. No. I mean, other news happening. Panthers trade wide receiver Deontay Johnson to the Ravens. Stephon Diggs out for the season with an ACL injury. Patrick Mahomes now has 30,000 passing yards to his credit. DK Metcalf out for this weekend. And defensive end for the Cowboys, Micah Parsons out for this week as well. And finally, Disney, ESPN, and the NFL will be teaming up to bring the Simpsons Fun Day Football Monday night, December 10th. Bengals versus Cowboys. It'll be on ESPN Plus and Disney Plus. No Toy Story this year. Simpsons. So if you like The Simpsons, you should watch it. I never watched fully enough episodes, so I don't know if I'll be tuning in as I was with Toy Story last year.
Well, it's funny you said that, because The Simpsons has been one of the longest running shows in television history.
Just like
And
Family
I've
Guy.
only watched one episode, and it was the episode with the Rolling Stones characters on it. So
I guess I know who's a Rolling Stones fan.
That's me. That's me. Yeah. So listen, we love your thoughts, and again, I don't know what to say about the Giants. I'm just disappointed and heartbroken. Again, it's just time and time again. And now, do we clean house and start this rebuild over again? I don't know. Frankie's made a good point before. They let Xavier McKinney go, and who was the other guy that they let go? Playing very well for somebody else. Name's
Saquon?
escaping me, but
Saquon.
yeah, Saquon. And one other transaction, which is Minnesota seems to be all in, like they got a legitimate chance. So they lost one of their starting left tackles for the season. They went right out and got Cam Robinson from the Jacksonville Jaguars. So teams that feel like they're competitive and they're in this race are making the trades, and the Giants sit idly by as the season goes down the drain.
Yeah.
Unfortunate. All right, Eli. So let's get into our picks. Give us a recap from last week.
2-2, and for both of us, and Jim still holds the crown at 21-11, and Eli at a devastating 13-19. Yikes, that hurts. That's
Boy,
embarrassing. That's rough. I got
wow.
homework. I got work to do. I gotta. Hopefully,
Yeah.
we disagree a lot. Kurt Valenti, host of All in High School Sports, says Giants need to sit DJ for the rest of the year. Kick their QB in first round. Go get your guy, whatever it tails.
I, I don't disagree. If they make that choice and they sit Jones down for the year, I'm fine with it because the season is already over. So it doesn't matter.
Absolutely.
You know, and a lot of speculation about, do they go get somebody like Matt Stafford or something? And I say no. I mean, there's too many miles on that tire. I mean, he's got a Hall of Fame career, but that's not where you want to go. You don't want to
Right.
go to a guy who's actually been a little more injury prone as he's been in the league a little bit longer. So I don't know what the right answer is. You know, Shane and Dable and Jones may all be gone, although we heard John Mara say that, he believes in Brian Dable and Joe Shane, and we're going to see. We're going to see.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Let's get
Eli.
to the
So as
picks.
you pointed out, we were 2-2 each last week.
Yep.
So we got some fresh slate of games, and we're even going to do a
Fifth pick.
bonus game this week.
Fifth pick. It's pretty great.
Right. So, all right, I got the games here. For the first one is Indy and Minneapolis, Minnesota, the Vikings. Like I said, I think the Vikings they're a real solid team, and I was never a believer in Sam Darnold, but he's playing quality football for that team. So, and I think the Indianapolis Colts are going the opposite direction. So I'm going to take Minnesota in this game, unless you're a Joe Flacco believer that he's going to come off the bench and lead them to the playoffs.
Yeah.
We'll wait
Quick
for your
comment
pick on that game. Yeah.
for Kurt. He says Belichick or no.
I don't see it happening. I don't know. I know there's a lot of talk about it, and I think if he went into John Mara and say I want this job, they would give it to him. I just
Yes.
don't know if we need a 72-year-old coach, a defensive-minded coach. I think there's too much work to be done. He wants to come in or go to a team where he's going to win instantly. So I can't say for sure whether this is going to happen, but yeah, Kurt, thanks for the comment because I'm not ruling it out as a possibility. Certainly.
Yep.
All right, Eli. Second game, Detroit, Green Bay, and this is probably one of the game of the week.
Absolutely, it is.
The question is Jordan Love healthy? Because Detroit has been blowing teams off the field lately. So I was contemplating this. Green Bay is at home, and they're tough. And I know my buddy Abe, one of our loyal Green Bay Packer fans, loyal listener, is going to question my selection here, but I'm going to take Detroit to win on the road, and it's going to be a close game. Green Bay's not going to get blown out at home. Yeah. Another game, Chicago, Arizona. Now, Chicago coming off that devastating loss to the Commanders on the Hail Mary. So I look for them. And I've said time and time again, I am not a believer that Kyler Murray is going to lead that team anywhere close to the Super Bowl. So I'm going to take Chicago to bounce back. I think Caleb
they did
Williams
it last week.
Yeah, Caleb
Miami.
Williams is starting to play well. So that's another game. We could disagree on that. And my last game, and again, I know I keep bringing up because I really think Joe Burrow is a stand-up, outstanding quarterback, and he is burning desire to get that Super Bowl that eluded him a couple of years ago. And Las Vegas, I think, they're basically cleaning house when you get rid of Adams and so forth. I don't know what the story with Crosby is, but I don't like that team at all. But Cincinnati's been giving up a lot of points, but I think they're still in the mix. They're 3-5, and I think they can run off a string and make the playoffs. And that's when Joe Burrow starts to hopefully turn it up. But I'm going to take Cincinnati in this game.
Okay.
And the little bonus one is because I'm actually going to be at the game. The Buffalo Bills are hosting the Miami Dolphins, and Tua's back, so that gives them more of a puncher's chance. But the season Josh Allen's having is outstanding. I've been a big Josh Allen supporter since draft day. Some of my Buffalo Bills fans that weren't sure about him, I think they're certain about him now that he's the right guy for this team, and they're winning games in spite of a lot of injuries that they had. So I'm going to take the Bills in our bonus pick.
All right. Let me get to my picks. We're going to start off with Dolphins Bills, 1 o'clock CBS. Listen, the Dolphins been struggled last week with the bad loss by a point to the Cardinals. But the Buffalo Bills seem to be the better team, and they're home. They got that home team environment, and Jim's going to be there. Extra luck for Buffalo. So I'm going to take Buffalo 26-21.
All right.
Raiders, Bengals, 1 o'clock on Fox. It's going to be a great game there, too. I'm going to take the Bengals 22-21. I think they're going to bounce back after last week's loss. The Raiders don't seem to be the team this year, so I'm taking the Bengals. Bears, Cardinals, 4:05 on CBS. It's going to be a great game also, but I do see the Bears bouncing back and getting a victory here, 24-22. Lions, Packers, 4:25 on Fox. Listen, this Lions team is really good. This Packers team is really good, but they're questionable about their quarterback. I did make this pick earlier prior to the questionable for Sunday pick, so I am taking the Packers because I cannot change it, 26-23.
All right.
And
So
finally,
yeah.
Colts, Vikings, 8:20, Sunday Night Football, NBC, one of the flex games. A great game to watch out for. I expect this game to be close, despite it going to be this game's going to be close. I don't think I'm a Flacco believer just yet, but if they do win, won't be surprised. Vikings 27-24. I'm going to keep this game close. So I'm taking the Vikings, the Packers, the Bears, the Bengals, and the Bills. Those are my picks.
Well, unfortunately, we're not going to separate from each other very much because we're
Same
the
boat.
same on 4 games. The only game we differ is you got the Packers, I got the Lions. So
Yeah, we do.
we do. All right, Eli, those are our picks, and
Yeah.
that's the story in the NFL.
Yes,
Before
it
we
is.
move off football, let's talk about
High school
as I
sports.
brought up last week, the big high school game in New Jersey was Bergen Catholic at St. Joe's, and I said it all along. Bergen Catholic's the number 1 team until somebody knocks them off, and they're a real tough team. I went to the game. St. Joe's hung tough, but Bergen Catholic is really a kind of a right now the elite in New Jersey for certain, and they're elite on a national level. Their only loss coming to IMG, which is basically a football factory. So they got a lot to be proud of with the season that they're having. And as you and I talked about, so high school football, this is the last weekend of the regular season before we get into the playoffs. So this is a big game seeding wise, and give us a little update on your St. Mary's Gales.
I muted myself. My bad about that. The guy Kurt, who is commenting, hosts a show called All In on High School Sports. Check that out when you get a chance. Every Tuesday night on the K&K Sports Network channel. He talks about everything high school football and North Jersey sports, North Jersey football and NJIC football. So I recommend checking out his channel. I also do some producing work on the Tuesday night primetime show. So check that out when you all have a chance. Great show to watch out for. He talks everything high school sports, gives you everything you need to know. How we do with the professional sports, he does great with that over on the high school side of things. So check out his channel there. The group seedings are out already for this week for high school. With the seedings for the groups and sections are out. Non-publics are not out yet. So we still got to have some waiting time for them. St. Mary's has Immaculata tomorrow for their senior night at 1 o'clock. They're at home in Rutherford. If St. Mary's wins, they will be home for the playoffs. If they lose, they're going to be away. So it's going to be all down to tomorrow's game. Very good game to watch out for. A lot of good ones this week. So check it out. And yeah.
Okay. Good. And, by the way, nice plug for Kurt's show. And I'm sure Kurt will do the same for us and give a plug.
Absolutely.
For Mono and Mono on
He does as always. He does as always.
I appreciate that, Kurt. Thank you. Right. All right, Eli. So let's kind of touch on a couple of things real quick. I don't NBA is not my favorite topic.
And ain't mine
Certainly,
either. But yeah, we got to talk about it.
yeah. I guess the surprise team right now is the Cleveland Cavaliers, off to a 4-0, I think, 5-0 maybe start.
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a good looking start for them. And on the other side of the coin, the Milwaukee Bucks. And this didn't get off to a good start already. They're 1-4, and already the rumors are flying about whether or not Giannis is going to be on the team, and is he going to stay here? Is he going to opt out? Is he going to get traded? Um, but this certainly isn't the Milwaukee Bucks that won the championship 2 years ago. So they got to rebound on that. A couple of injuries. Pablo Banchero,
For the Magic. Yeah.
yeah, the
Sideline
Magic
indefinitely.
just comes off a 50-point game, and now he got hurt. He tore a quad muscle or something, and that's always, you see what it does to guys in baseball. They miss 2 months of the season, so that's not good for him. And one other one, because I've spoken about this time and time again, that this guy Joel Embiid, and they're just paying him a king's ransom now. And he comes out, he hasn't played in a game yet. He makes some crazy statements like he's not going to play back-to-back games. I mean, when you're talking about alienating your fan base, the worst place to do that is Philadelphia, because they're not civilized fans.
No, they're not. They're not like everybody else in the world. Right.
You know what? But I think this guy Embiid is a bum. I'm taking his talent. He just doesn't play enough for me. You're not going to win a championship with him, and you just alienated your fan base to no end. And this guy is making over $50 million a year, and he's already making a statement that he's not going to play back-to-back games. I mean, come on, what are we doing? What are we doing?
Yeah.
Oh,
And yeah, and other one was Rudy Gay. He's retiring from the NBA after 17 seasons.
yeah,
Last NBA note I have.
yeah. He had a good career, actually.
Yeah, he did. And that's it.
Yeah, and one other quick note. So I watched some of the Knick game the other night, and like I said, we didn't know what they were getting. They made the trade and got rid of DiVincenzo and Randall for Karl Anthony Towns, and I was starting to question that, because I didn't know if Towns, if the best part of his career is in the rearview mirror, but he's been playing very well. I watched him. He scored 44 points the other night against the Heat, and so that trade could work out very well for the Knicks.
Absolutely.
Okay, Eli, let's touch how. First of all, my Rangers are off to a real good start. How you Devils?
Yeah, they
doing?
are. Well, the Devils, they're right now at a record of 7-4-2. They played 13 games so far in first place because the amount of games they have in points. But right behind them, Florida Panthers, 15 points. The Devils are in Calgary tonight. Islanders, right now, the worst team in the East at 3-5-2, all the way at the bottom.
Yeah.
Wow, what a turn of events there in the
It
other
is.
New York team. And for Chicago, same thing, 3-7-1. Connor Bedard still hasn't done much yet. They're at the bottom. Winnipeg Jets get the first loss, 9-1 is where they stand in first place.
Yeah, I got a couple of quick notes though. For Edmonton, Connor McDavid, arguably the best player in the game, is hurt. So,
Yeah.
but remember, Edmonton got off to a slow start last year, and they got a great team. I expect them fully to recover from this, even if McDavid misses some time.
Absolutely.
He's that good of a player. And Eli, we had a game in Finland today. We had a little matinee today. It was
All
the
right.
Florida Panthers and the Dallas Stars played in Finland. And of course,
I did not know that.
this is pretty interesting fact, though. The captain Barkov of the Florida Panthers is Finnish. So he's from Finland, and he scored 4 points in his return to Finland. And this is that global series that you brought up a couple of weeks ago.
Right.
You mentioned. Yeah, so that's kind of cool.
Hmm.
Playing in Finland. That was interesting.
Yeah, I didn't know that they were playing in Finland. That's new to me.
Yeah, they played today, and um, Florida won 6-4. So it was a good game.
Wow. All right. There
Good
you
game.
go. All right.
Um, all right, Eli. Let's move on to some random points of interest. Of course, sponsored by Lynch Toyota, and again, all of our thoughts and prayers going out to the whole Lynch family on Mike's recovery, and hope that's going well. Anybody could turn it around, it's him. That's for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I got some random points, and we talked about the Washington Chicago game. This guy Tyreek Stevenson, if you saw his antics, he was drawn and he wasn't prepared to be on the field while the play was underway. He's still jawing with the fans. He ends up getting back into the play. He ends up being the one that tips it into the hands of the Commanders receiver. I wish that the Chicago Bears made a statement and cut that guy right after the game. You are not supposed to be engaging. You're an NFL football player, and until that game says 0.0 time remaining, you're supposed to be on that field paying attention. He wasn't.
100%. That's why they lost. That's why they lost. I agree. Why didn't they cut him? 100% agree with that. I cannot disagree.
Yeah. So a couple other quick things. You know what? We watched the Giants in Pittsburgh the other night, and I saw an interesting fact of all of the. Remember all of the history of the Pittsburgh Steelers and Mean Joe Green and Jack Lambert and Jack Ham and all those Hall of Famers. Cameron Hayward has played more games for the Pittsburgh Steelers on defense than anybody else in team history. And by the way, I asked myself, he's I think he's might be in his like 13th, maybe 14th year.
Right.
He's a borderline Hall of Famer. He's been that kind of an impact player. And I'm kind of a big fan of his. My little brother played against his father,
Right.
Craig Hayward, from Passaic, many years ago. So I want to give a shout out to Cameron Hayward because that's quite an honor to have played more defensive plays for the Pittsburgh Steelers, considering their history all time.
Wow.
So let's real quick on the hockey front. And again, my feeling is I don't want this record to be broken. And Ovechkin gets off to a very slow start. And of course, he takes it out on the Rangers and scores 2 goals the other night, and he scored again. So there is a puncher's chance that
he's gonna beat it. I think he's gonna. I think he's going to beat it.
He's got what, 35 more to go or something?
He ain't gonna be the greatest of all time, but he's gonna be good. He's gonna be great.
That's the point. That's my point. He's never gonna be considered Wayne Gretzky,
greatest of all
whether he
time.
breaks the record or not. I like the guy. I like his grittiness.
If he breaks the record, it's gonna give more fame to him, 100%, and the better and more name. He'll become more like Sidney Crosby, well known now. But he will never be Wayne Gretzky. Wayne Gretzky left a legacy. He won 4 Stanley Cups. Ovechkin won 1. Let's keep that in mind real quick. 1 Stanley Cup versus 4. Amount of trophies. Compare the trophies. Go to Wikipedia if you have to. Look at that large list. And look at Ovechkin.
I mean, when you talk about the NHL.
It's Wayne Gretzky, the greatest of all time.
Right. Greatest of all time. So the number 1 and number 2 positions are already solidified. They'll never change as long as the game of hockey is played, and that's Wayne Gretzky and Bobby Orr, 2 of the greatest players of all time. End of discussion. By the way, so one other random point I wanted to mention, because Eli, he's going to give us our update programming note for next week, but my partner's birthday is next Saturday. So wishing you a happy birthday, my friend. And, it's been great having you as part of this show. We're really doing some good things, and I wish you all the best on your birthday. And I know you're
Thank
going
you.
to spend it with Mickey Mouse, I guess, right?
I don't know. We'll see.
Huh?
Well, yeah, we'll have another. Bobby will be in to fill in for you for me next week. That's
Okay.
what we'll.
And our,
That's
our
what will happen.
audience is certainly familiar with producer Rob. Bob's
But we'll be
guest,
here.
yeah, he guest host, and we're going to be back on next Saturday at 10 a.m.
All right. But I
Although
got
I
random
kind of
points
like
to get
this,
to.
I kind of like this Friday Night Lights thing, and it was kind of
I know it's kind of a
kind of
good
a
thing. I
big
know,
hit.
right? It's like fun, right?
Yeah, so I don't want to get ahead of ourselves like we're going to make this a permanent change, but I've kind of enjoyed it, and our audience before all the guys and the Derricks and the Franks go out to the bars in Hoboken, they can
Yeah,
watch the show on Friday night and sleep in on Saturday. So
I agree. All right. Well, all right. But yeah, I do like it a lot, though. All right. But let's get to some random points. I got them. I
yep,
got some here. All right. We'll start off with this. The Connecticut Sun has parted ways with head coach Stephanie White, who now becomes the Fever head coach. How do you like
yeah,
that? A change of events
so that
there.
yeah,
Meanwhile, the Indiana Fever part ways with head coach Christy Sides. Meanwhile, Disney will become the new home to the Grammys beginning in 2027, the music award show. Will leave CBS after 50 years and make its way over to ABC with a 10-year deal to simulcast on Hulu and Disney Plus. Now,
hmm
to give you a little background, Disney used to actually have its own award show for music called the RDMAs, Radio Disney Music Awards. And their trophy used to be an Artie, which is a Mickey Mouse statue wearing headphones. That stopped a long time ago as they got rid of the radio station. But yeah, now music award shows are now coming back to the Disney family. And
well,
the
it's
Grammys will
growing.
get that in 2027. Yeah.
Yeah, Disney is growing. It was one of the biggest growing streaming services out there.
Yeah.
Amazing.
TNT will host The Match, and it's back for a $1 million cash prize golf tournament event. It will feature players of Charles Barkley, Wayne Gretzky, Ken Griffey Jr., Blake Griffin, Michael Phelps, Bill Murray, Mark Wahlberg, and Nate Bargatze. That's November 21st and 22nd over on TNT. It's a $1 million golf event called TNT Capital One The Match. So hopefully
No
do get
interest. I have no
really.
interest in that.
I'm
None.
surprised you
Zero.
like golf. I thought you would. All right.
I do, but I don't need to see Charles Barkley. My game has gone to hell. His is never. He's a terrible golfer. I have no interest in watching him at
All
all.
righty. Final note, this was announced today. The PATH train will be closing the Hoboken, New Jersey station on January 31st to February 25th. PATH says they will not be having any alternative plans at the moment. They did say, however, they will extend 126 buses. That's the bus from Hoboken to New York. They're going to extend that line, and they will encourage riders to either use New Jersey Transit bus service, rail service if it doesn't break down, and also the New York Waterway Ferry or the Newport train station that also goes to 33rd Street via the PATH train. Now the
Yeah,
commuters are complaining because out of all the months, you chose the coldest months, January into February, the coldest time of the year. Why?
and I
And
actually
yeah,
was talking about this because I know a lot of people that live in Hoboken, and that's a big deal. It's a big deal for like northeast New Jersey people that commute into New York City, so they got to make alternate plans. If you live in Hoboken, I guess yeah, you're right. Have a nice walk in January to Journal
Newport
Square to get
or
into New
Newport.
York.
That's the closest station. Next right over.
Yeah, right,
Yeah.
Newport, right.
All
Yeah.
righty. Let's get into the entertainment segment now. That is sponsored by Vital Selections. You can scan the QR code right now to learn more. What do we got, Jim?
All right. So I got a good movie, and I've seen it before, but I saw it recently, and it was just a great performance. It's Good Will Hunting with Matt
Okay.
Damon and Ben Affleck, and
Absolutely.
great performance by the late Robin Williams as well. Really, just a great movie. It's funny. It's not all comedy, but it's got some funny lines with the whole Boston accent theme, and it's a great movie. I highly recommend Good Will Hunting.
All right. Well, I'm going to just give my recommendation to what to watch. Election Day broadcast happening on Tuesday. If you have not already, go vote if you can. Tuesday's election, you can watch every channel has a broadcast, so there's going to be nothing on. So just turn on a channel for a little bit, turn it off, go to sleep. That's what I recommend. And also watch
Well, it's election
Saturday
night.
night.
It's election
Yeah.
night.
Yeah. And watch Saturday Night Live this week in a new episode.
Yeah, who's hosting it? Mulvaney,
John
I think
Mulaney. Yep.
Mulaney.
Yep.
Yeah.
And let's get to some
Yeah.
photos.
All right, but as you pointed out, get out and vote because it is election day. So there's my
Absolutely.
daughter. I had mentioned last week was her birthday, so we had an opportunity to go out to lunch. And this is a real cute place called Tranquility Farms out in, I think it's like Alamucci, New Jersey. But it was a really nice place. A lot of
Interesting.
things for the kids, a lot of things for adults, and that's just the. You know what? I just took that picture because that's just a beautiful sky that we get to see
I
every
saw that
night.
the other day. It was like an orange pink sky. It was like out of nowhere.
Yep.
Right. I know.
Isn't that a nice picture I took? Huh?
I'm glad you took a picture of it because I didn't, and I saw the sky too.
Yeah. I got a couple other ones. These of course, that's my granddaughter and my grandson. I think Eli, if you know who Curious George is,
Curious
right?
George, the man in the yellow hat. Yeah.
That's
I actually,
right.
someone in
That's
high school, one of the quarterback, Bradley Higgins, he actually the man in the yellow hat. Pretty amazing.
well, that's what he is. He's holding his Curious George, and that's my granddaughter who's a candy fairy, and that's my grandson. I don't know what that is. I mean, do you know what that
I
is?
can't even tell. Oh, I'm gonna get rid of the graphic for a second. I want to see what
But it's so funny because I didn't expect him to be in
gorilla.
that kind of a costume.
A gorilla.
I don't know. I honestly I don't
All right.
know.
Well, you're gonna have to give us an answer on that one. You're gonna have to reach out and find out.
Yeah, so that's a little quiz. So if anybody knows who my grandson was dressed up as, send us an email at sportswithmono@gmail.com.
Jim, you might need to let me know. Find out from your grandson this weekend what the costume was, and let me know, please.
Yeah.
I want to
All right.
know. Allow some notable passings, unfortunately.
Okay. I got a couple. I think right off the bat, really just a terrific actress for many, many years, Terry Garr. She was in a lot of different movies. She was in Young Frankenstein and Mr. Mom. She played a great role in that, and I just a great actress. And she was in a lot of things. And I didn't know this. I watched a lot of Elvis Presley because I'm an Elvis Presley fan, so I watched some of the movies. But she was also like a backup dancer in at least 8 of his movies. So he had quite a career. And she was 79 years old.
Wow.
And one other note, another one I had was David Harris, who's 75. And I had asked Eli if he saw the movie The Warriors from 1979, which obviously he didn't see it in 79 like I did. But he was he played Coachy as one of the gang members, if you will. It's kind of one of those movies where it's so bad, it's great. It's kind of like one of those.
It's one of those things. Yep.
Yeah. So he was Coachy in the movie. He was 75 years old. I think you got a couple that I missed.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Philadelphia Union Soccer Club goalkeeper Holden Trenton has passed away at the age of 25. He was born in 1999. Very young. I'm sure Diego Cruz, our resident soccer expert, wouldn't have more about that, but he did play for Philadelphia Union Soccer Club. That is a MLS team, for those who do not know. The voice of the Browns, Jim Donovan, passed away at the age of 68. He was born in 1956. Finally, 49ers cornerback Travarius Ward's 1-year-old daughter, Amani, has passed away. Such a young age, and it's horrible to see this. 49ers sends condolences out this week. Horrible to see. And
horrible indeed. I mean, when we talk about it before when we mentioned Jim Walsh and the struggles his wife has been going through, and to have that happen, I don't know how anybody could recover from this. And a lot of people could say that there's a reason for everything. I fail to see.
It's hard. It's hard. It is.
It's really tough. I don't know. Big well wishes to that family because it's just devastating to lose a child.
Absolutely.
Okay, Eli. So
what a great show. And don't forget, folks, to set your clocks back 1 hour because daylight savings kicks off. So set your clocks back 1 hour this weekend.
Okay. And we're also going to be back, and Bobby will be sitting in for you while you're vacationing.
Yep.
Absolutely. For your birthday. And again, happy birthday, my friend.
And I can't wait to be back in 2 weeks. and I'll
We'll
be
back in 2 weeks.
sending you my picks so you could read for me next week. Because I got to keep the
Okay.
crown. I want to get the crown back, so I got to make sure. I got to send you the picks.
Remember, you can't keep the crown until you've had the crown.
I had the crown for a little bit, and then I lost it. So I got to get it back. So I'm gonna send you the picks so I could stay. I don't miss a beat.
Okay. And one last thing, it's we brought it up before. It's election day. It's your right to go out and vote. I don't know who you vote for. It's up to you, but
I don't care, but just vote.
Right, because you have no reason to complain if you don't vote. So that's our public service announcement of the day. But listen, Eli, go have yourself a great vacation. I'll see you in 2 weeks, my friend, and happy birthday.
All right, everyone. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thanks for joining us.